Good morning, everyone. This is Pastor Robert Wilson with God's Way Apostolic Cathedral, and I'm getting ready to do my pastor's table. I want to talk about a bad relationship, and that's been a theme that I've been on for a while. The past few weeks is about relationships and how we treat one another, whether it's an intimate relationship, a friendship relationship, or even a family relationship. We treat each other. The way we treat each other is the same way we treat God. Well, this message is coming from the book of Hosea, the 5th chapter, and how God deals with bad relationships. It's funny that we think that, you hear that God is this all-loving God and he loves me, he loves me, he loves me. But this is something that you rarely ever hear other ministers talk about or in church. But God also hates, and he also punishes those that violate his commands or go against his will, I should say, after a point of time. Now, in the book of Hosea, we're looking at a prophet who God basically had fall in love and marry a prostitute. Now, I know myself, that would be extremely hard for me to do. I am a little bit old-fashioned in thought, and I think a woman should always want to represent herself to the utmost. She wants to kind of stay a little bit clean, a little bit more pure. I'm not saying that she couldn't have had somebody in her life before, but when it gets to the point when you have so many different men as a woman in your life, it's just become a little bit more difficult for me. I'm just talking about me as a person to want to deal. But Hosea didn't. He actually fell in love with Gomer, and they got married and they had children. And in a sense, it's the metaphor of our relationship with God, because we are an adulterous people. We look at other things that we will always try to put before God, even though we say we love God. And what I mean by other things, it could be your job. It actually could be your family. We know money is number one, material possessions. All these things we put before God makes it us an adulterer. And you say, well, Pastor, I don't do those things. Well, that's great. I appreciate that, that you don't. But there are some of us who do. And with that, I'm going to read some of Hosea 5, and from that we can go forth into the message. Let me find sorry about that. Okay. Hear this, O priest, give heed, O house of Israel. Listen, O house of the king, for the judgment applies to you. For you have been a snare at Mizpah, and a net spread out on Tabor. The revolters have gone deep into depravity, but I will chastise all of them. I know Ephraim and Israel is not hidden from me. For now, O Ephraim, you have played the harlot. Israel has defiled itself. These deeds will not allow them to return to their God. For a spirit of harlotry is within them, and they do not know the Lord. Moreover, the pride of Israel testify against him, and Israel and Ephraim stumbled in their iniquity, and Judah also has stumbled with them. They will go with their flocks and herds to seek the Lord, but they will not find him. He has withdrawn from them. That was verses 1 through 6. And in reading that, you see now all of a sudden God has gotten to a point, because of all this adulterous behavior and living, that he is no longer there for them. He's actually turned his back on his people. How do we know this is his people? Because it started off in verse 1 saying the priest. And then it said the house of Israel, which is his children. Okay? And then it goes on, then it starts talking about the king, which we know, of course, are the rulers of the land. So God is judging the whole country, from the pastors on down, and outside of the church, the leadership of the country on down. So everyone is about to endure this judgment. Why? Because of our adulterous living. When we start to incorporate our own sense of righteousness into God's church. You know, we talk so much about sugar-coated ministries in which we have it that the word has to keep us appeased, otherwise we don't want to go to that church. But here's the thing about that. You gotta know in a relationship both the good and the bad. It's funny because this morning as I was up reading and going through this, I sit there and posted a message by Creflo Dollar, which he was talking about asking a lot of questions about a person that you're trying to get involved with. Why? Because you want to get to know them. You know, the funny thing about what was going on back here with Judah, Samaria, back in this time, was a lot of things that's going on here now. We're talking about lying, killing, murdering, stealing, just doing whatever we feel, killing one another, bloodshed after bloodshed. That's something that's going on today. And God said, I'm fed up with it. I'm going to turn my back and I'm going to punish. Well, I don't know about you, but if I got on a ship or any place and I know that something bad can happen, at least give me a route to get out. Show me the safest way. If you notice in buildings, they have these paths in case of an emergency, how you can get out of the building. Well, it's the same thing in Christianity. If you are sinning against God to a point where God has gotten upset, don't you think you need to have an out, an escape route in case of an emergency so that you cannot or you will not be a part of it? That's why you need to know both sides of God. Not just the God that does love you, but the God that would also say, as he said in Hosea 9:15, because of all their evils appeared at Gilgal, for there I came to hate them. I will drive them from my house because of their evil, wicked actions. I will no longer love them. All their leaders are rebellious. God is talking about the preachers. They have been creating fake and false Christians. And because of that, he has started to what? Hate them. This is in the Bible. Find whatever translation of the Bible you want. Go to Hosea 9:15. The word is hate. So God does not love everyone, because there becomes a point where he starts to hate folks for the sins and the evil doings that they are doing. So don't let that God loves everyone, I can do whatever I feel like doing stuff fool you. No, you can't do whatever you want. So funny that people want it to be a religion that's based off of their beliefs and their standard. But this is something that wasn't created by you. So since it wasn't created by you, it is not your standard. And as I wrap up, just one little analogy for what I see us as Christians today. You know, we use gasoline, and you got different grades of gasoline that you put in your car. They will recommend a grade that is best to give you the utmost performance in your car. Now, I don't care what grade that you use, but start adding water to that gasoline and see how your car starts to perform. All of a sudden, you're going to get some sputtering and puttering. And if it was getting 20 to 30 miles to the gallon, now all of a sudden it's dropping down maybe to 10 to 15 miles to the gallon. Because you're watering down and you're taking away from it. And then that power that it gives you to accelerate is no longer there. Well, as we continue to water down the gospel, what do you think is happening? That power that we need to reach and touch folks, or even communicate with the Lord, has also left. With that being said, remember, there's nothing wrong with living a good life. Love is the key. Think about it and try God's way. Love you all. Have a blessed day. Goodbye.